Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a late night insight video on a fragrance that I absolutely despise. I am ready to blow a gasket over this fragrance. It is a fragrance that disgusts me in many, many ways, and I'll try to talk about some of those ways. I'll try not to get so upset that I forget some of the ways that this fragrance disgusts me. This is from the house of Parfums de Marly, and this is called Haltane. Sorry about the ink on my hands. Me and my daughter were coloring earlier. And so Haltane is a fragrance that was sent to me by a friend. And he wanted me to review it on the channel. So who am I to not oblige a fan? And he said he thought it would be funny. And I figured he's probably right. So before I start ranting and raving, for those of you that don't know what Haltane is, it was originally a Harrods exclusive fragrance from 2021 from the house of Parfums de Marly. It sells for $410 for 125 ml. I guess we should be so lucky that they can just willy-nilly throw in an extra 30 or 40 mils or whatever it is. I forgot what the size of Initio's bottles were because I smartly got myself a decant of Oud for Greatness. But I think Oud for Greatness is 90 or 95 mils. I forget. But if the juice is so rare and expensive, how in the world can they just throw in an extra 30, 35, 40 mils and the price be the same as 90 mils here and 125 mils there? That's the part that I always loved about these rare and exclusive Oud fragrances. It's like, even with some of the Dior's, you buy 100 mils and it's like $310, and you buy 200 mils and it's like $400. It's like, how in the world, if the juice is so rare with this opulent, rare Oud, can you double the juice and just only charge like 90 bucks more on a $300 or $400 fragrance? It makes zero sense, right? If anyone actually takes the time to think about it for more than 1 second, okay? So Haltane then became a Parfums de Marly just fragrance in its regular line in 2022. So it kind of took the same route that Overture Man by Amouage took. It was a Harrods exclusive first for about a year. Then it went to just the regular line where you could buy it. And I'm going to read the description just because of the sheer humor of the description. Before I get started, if you know anything about Oud for Greatness, if you've smelled Oud for Greatness, you've smelled Haltane, basically, in a nutshell. If you've smelled Haltane, you've basically smelled Oud for Greatness. But here's the description from the Parfums de Marly website. Quote, Haltane is a fragrance for a gentleman of today, inspired by the gentle homes of the Chateau de Marly in the 18th century. 18th century? This is a fragrance that smells like a $10 Lattafa fragrance. 18th century, my ass. My scent of the day maybe smells like an 18th century fragrance, which was the vintage Extrait of Val de Nuit. I don't have the propeller, so I got this bottle a little bit cheaper, but the juice inside is impeccable and one of the most beautiful fragrances I've ever smelled in my life. I'm actually wearing it today. It's being blotted out by this disgusting fragrance. Actually, I'm going to spray this again just so I can get even more upset. But let me take my watch off because I don't want a single drop touching my watch. God forbid. The sheer horror of it all. Okay, so to whoever sent this to me, which I think I remember who it was, thank you, or fuck you, whichever you prefer. God. So we continue. Haltane is an original scent of both radiance and shadows. Its composition features a blend of rare and noble ingredients, which revisit the tradition of the 18th century French perfume making. 18th century? A Lattafa smelling fragrance is harkening back to the 18th century. Right. Its dazzling freshness and herbal top notes quickly yield a warm and smooth sense of leather with a symphony of precious woods. Precious woods. Soft and sweet, escorted by saffron, a huge dose of saffron, I might add. Gigantic. Saffron may be like the note du jour here, along with amber woods. And this sort of, I don't know what you would call it, but maybe like this ambroxan-like throw, this Baccarat Rouge 540 sweet ethyl maltol throw thing. It's praline accord, and there is one of the most disgusting praline accords I've ever smelled in my life, ever. Like, If you can just imagine a praline accord, right? And you're probably like, if you hate sweet fragrances, just imagining that praline accord, you're probably like, okay, that's disgusting. Just imagine it even more disgusting than you could ever imagine it. That's the praline accord in here. Is an ultra contemporary spin on the mythical oud wood. The praline note is an ultra contemporary spin on the mythical oud note. Agarwood emerges in this veil. Agarwood emerges in this veil of contrast and imprints the skin with luminous refinement. Refinement! I think I just broke my computer doing that. Come back, please. I need you. I need you, computer. Banging on the desk. How can I finish reading this if my computer will not come back? Maybe I unplug something out of sheer anger. Sheer lust of anger of what this fragrance has done. Will you come back to me? Please? What if I say I'm sorry? It really did not like that. Let's see if I can get it going again. Come on, fragrance. Well, looks like we're going to be flying solo here because I'm not stopping this now. Now that I'm whipped up into a frenzy of rage, I cannot stop. So, here's the thing. Parfums de Marly and Initio were sold to a company called Advent something. They were like Capital Markets Group or something. You know, venture capitalists. I don't know. They were somewhere in that range, okay? And I did a video, actually. If you are interested, you can go check that video out. It is a video that literally says, Parfums de Marly and Initio sold to Advent Capital Group, or whatever their name is. And so it's interesting because if you go back to the old days and you watch these old reviewers, okay, some of the ones that got a lot of free bottles and stuff like that, they tried to make it a point to say that Initio and Parfums de Marly had zero to do with each other, that it was a lie, that they were sister houses or connected in any way, that they weren't. That the reality of the situation is that they're completely separate houses. Well, whenever Advent Capital bought them, they bought them as a package deal. So obviously, we now know that the lie over the last 5 or 6 years some of these reviewers tried to tell us is just that it was a lie. And so what is interesting is that my friend, I won't say who, and I don't want to say it smells like a clone because I don't want the you know, attorneys of Initio or Parfums de Marly to be like, you know, he's calling it a clone. So I'm going to say that a friend, this is true, a friend told me that he thinks that Haltane smells like a clone of Oud for Greatness, okay? And that is what I agree with that 100%. I think it's spot on. The sort of most vile, contemptuous, sort of disgusting things that you could think about Initio Oud for Greatness, which go watch my review of this, by the way. I was in a hotel room. I literally decided to review this when I was in a hotel room, just so I would keep the fragrance away from being sprayed inside of this house. That's how much I hate this fragrance. I despise it. It's one of my most hated fragrances of all time. Easily, hands down. And this DNA in Oud for Greatness is in Haltane. I would venture, if you made me pick a number, I would say it's about 90% the same, okay? So in 2018, Initio comes out with Oud for Greatness. In 2021, Haltane, which is a Parfums de Marly fragrance, comes out. So years later, it comes out from its sister house. Not only have they basically decided to create a fragrance that smells so identical to one of their best-selling fragrances of all time, and they've taken the absolute worst parts of Oud for Greatness. That disgusting sort of amber wood sweetness is even more amped up here. If that's even possible, you know, you would think maybe 2 or 3 years later, they would look back and be like, okay, maybe it's time we made some tweaks to the better direction. No, they actually went worse. The sweetness in here is worse. I think if you twisted my arm, I would rather wear Oud for Greatness. And you know how much I hate this fragrance. If you watched my Oud for Greatness review, you know I despise Oud for Greatness. The fact that I would rather wear Oud for Grimness over Parfums de Marly Haltane shows just how terrible this fragrance is. That praline note is, I mean, literal vomit. It literally makes me want to vomit. It is so bad. And the fact that I'm willing to put this on my skin twice for you guys just shows my dedication. It literally makes me sick to my stomach. It is, someone once said, all Amber Wood haters, get your torches and let's march straight to Initio headquarters. Well, here, all Amber Wood fragrance haters, get your torches and let's march straight to Parfums de Marly headquarters. Or basically they're the same thing now that they're under Advent Capital, since they are sister houses, and now we pretty much know that. But just imagine a niche brand selling something for $410. I wish my monitor would come back on. I think I literally broke it with that angry fist bump down on the desk. But just imagine, this is a niche house, $410 for 125 mil. And the best they could come up with is a fragrance that smells like a fragrance their sister house put out in 2018. I mean, I won't even really go into the notes, because if you want to get some of that, if you want to actually get a little bit of a breakdown, go watch my review on Oud for Greatness. But I will say, I was in a hotel room, so I didn't have access to some of my other fragrances at the time. But this is the fragrance I was discussing if you go watch my Oud for Greatness video. This is Abiyedh Rouge by the House of Lattafa. This was a $15 fragrance. Literally, I paid 15 bucks for this. I think maybe I paid $5 or $10 for shipping. So it was like 20, 25 bucks, okay? And there is a stark similarity between the Oud smell in here and the Oud that you get in the $400+ fragrance from Initio and Haltane. And so it's just crazy to me, that the best that a niche house could do is to put out a fragrance like this. Is literally the best they got, is this type of execution and originality to come up with a fragrance like this. This is what they have in 2021. Literally, this is what they're rolling with. No joke. It is just an absolute shock to me, an absolute shock. And I am a certified Parfums de Marly and Initio hater. I think I hate Initio more than Parfums de Marly as a brand. But I will say that these are both so bad that I would almost wear the Initio. Like the Oud for Greatness, I think I would take it. But, you know, it's the other thing is, it's not like they created a fragrance that was a take or inspired by, whatever proper legal term you want to use, inspired by, that was like some obscure B-side fragrance that no one knew about. They cloned their best-selling, or as my friend said, I shouldn't say they cloned it, because that's not properly true. My friend says that it smells like a clone of Oud for Greatness, okay? So their most popular fragrance, it's not, you know, I would see if there was like some weird B-side discontinued fragrance no one smelled and they tried to sneak it in, okay, you know, we're going to sneak this in here as a Harrods exclusive, but Oud for Greatness, it is just, it's mind-boggling. Whoever's making the decisions, mind-boggling. And then, to make matters worse, it obviously did so well, they sold the brand for $750 million or whatever it was. So, I mean, part of me is like, fuck, that's the path of the fragrance industry. That is where some of these niche houses are going. It is an absolute travesty. And to me, the fact that I could wear this $20 clone. And the other thing I should mention, and I mentioned it in my Oud for Greatness video, but I think it's worth repeating, is that when you're using high-end materials, okay, you're using this rare mystical Oud. If my monitor would come back on, I would tell you what they said again. But this rare mystical Oud, okay, that they were mentioning earlier, right? Rare mystical Oud should not be able to smell like a fragrance that's created by a house that does clones for 20 bucks. It should be almost impossible to clone because you're using all this rare, mystical, hard to find stuff. The fact that it's so easily cloned speaks to the cheapness of the formula, in my opinion, my unprofessional opinion, right? If there was a huge dose of real Oud in here, it would be impossible to clone, because the price of getting an oud like that for real would be impossible, right? You wouldn't be able to do a $20 clone. That kind of material on a fragrance is you just can't do it. Prices do not work. But when you can create something like this and it smells so close that, you know, if I ever wanted to smell like Oud for Greatness or Haltane, I could just wear something like this. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable to me. I had more curse words and a bunch of stuff written down, but I think you basically get the drill. One of my most hated fragrances of all time for many, many reasons. Everything that I've tried to list here. Just the way it wears, the disgusting amber woods in here that it offends me in a lot of different ways. On top of the fact that it's a $410 fragrance. And they use words like, you know, what did they say? I wish it would come back on. Ruined my, I wanted to use the proper words off of the website. But yes, this mystical, they try to put this with an 18th century, like there's anything vintage to this. No, not at all. Not in my book at all. So if you want something that's throwback vintage, go hunt down some of those old Guerlain Extraits if you want to kind of take the next step. And if you're new to niche, because I know Parfums de Marly and Initio are kind of like bridge brands. They're brands from people who are going from designer to niche. They go to Parfums de Marly because they kind of smell designer, but they're in expensive bottles. And then they start branching out into the Serge Lutens and stuff like that, and vintage and all that good stuff. So if you're new to niche, and let's say Oud for Greatness or whatever was your first niche fragrance and you're all gung-ho about it, don't let me stop you from liking it, okay? Wear what you love, all right? But I will just tell you that many folks who have sort of taken the same journey, the same path that you're on, view these type of fragrances as stepping stones. So don't go invest $410 in a full bottle. Do what I did. Get a decant years and years ago. And, this is from 2018 or 19, whenever I got this, and you can see how much I've worn. And most of it was probably that day I did that stupid review for YouTube. Because you will not want to reach for it. Once you have a larger collection, this is not something you're going to want to reach for. I mean, to me, this is bottom of the barrel. I'd almost rather wear this. I'd rather wear the clone. At least it smells like, it's a $20 fragrance. It smells like a $20 fragrance. This is a $400 fragrance that smells like a $20 fragrance to me. So that's sort of my bit. I mean, I think it's the opposite of high class. I think it's low class. I think people that think they're wearing something high class while wearing this are kidding themselves. I think that a lot of perfume, people who are in the know in fragrance, people who write books about fragrance, people who, have addictions to fragrance, absolutely despise these type of fragrances, in my opinion. And I can completely 100%, 1000% see why, especially if you start getting into the real ouds. You start smelling the Rouge Dorés, the Ensars, it's almost damn near impossible to. This is like taking the biggest step backwards you could ever imagine. So that's my take on it. I despise it. I hate it. I don't have enough words to describe my hate for it. I had more notes in here, but whenever in my sheer anger, I've obviously either disconnected the monitor or broke the damn thing. But yes, so it's a little shorter and not as angry as I was going to be, because I had some expletives written out that I was going to say with meaning and force, but you'll just have to take my word for it. If you have never smelled this and you listen to anything that I say, stay away. Stay far, far, far away. And if you're with me on this, you probably already know that, is my guess. But this video is also, I think, for maybe some of the newcomers, the folks who are just getting into niche. There are many better niche brands to explore, in my opinion. There's even better Parfums de Marly fragrances to explore. Get Godolphin or something, or one of the older ones if you can hunt down. There's still some older Parfums de Marly that some of the old timers swear by. I've never smelled, but yes, Haltane is, I would say, a perfect sort of encapsulation of the brand. It is a just perfect time capsule of the brand. and what they stand for, and exactly, you know, where the brand has gone and where they're going to. That going from something that, you know, smells like one of their sister brands and selling them both, that is a perfect just representation of everything that the brand stands for, in my opinion. You can't get a better case study in why I despise both of these brands. So anyways, if you have experience, and if you have an opposite opinion than me, I'd love to hear why you love Haltane. Do leave it in the comments. But for me, this is absolute trash, bottom of the barrel. Apps and that, God, it feels even, I'm telling you, it feels worse. I don't know how that's possible. It literally feels worse. Oh, and the fact that it's on my skin is disgusting. I'm gonna go scrub it off before bed. Because if it touches my pillow, God forbid, it'll be there for a month. I won't be able to get any sleep, so let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Appreciate you guys watching as always. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.